So I know there's been a lot of radio silence from my end for the past few weeks, and I sincerely apologize for that. But with life slowly returning to some sort of normalcy, I've been picking up a lot of film work again, which is amazing for me, but unfortunately has been taking me away from working on my recorded interviews. To add to this, my trusty laptop has finally given up the ghost after many years of being a reliable workhorse. And with that, unfortunately, a lot of my recorded episodes are now gone. For now, until I can get them off the now dead hard drive. But fear not, I still have a decent amount of interviews on my desktop, which I hope to eventually get to. But please just bear with me. Things are super busy right now. Anyway, enough about that. It's time to talk about this week's guest, Mother Tongues. If you haven't heard of this band and love nothing more than putting on some great music after a long day's work and sparking up a joint or sipping on your favorite cocktail, then look no further. You found them. Mother Tongues has been on the Toronto music scene for the past 5 years and is made up of Lukas Cheung on guitar and vocals, Charise Aragoza on bass and vocals, Konrad Karczewski on guitar, Nick Kervin on drums, and Hannah Bussiere Kim on keys and vocals. If that last name sounds at all familiar to you, it should, because Hannah is none other than the very talented and popular Luna Lee. It was a love of everything from 60s French pop to breakbeats, krautrock, shoegaze, and film scores that brought these five together, and it's interesting how all of these seemingly random mix of genres come out in their music. Mother Tongues have toured all across Canada and the US, sharing the stage with notable artists such as Dilly Dally, Up and U.S. Girls. The band signed with Buzz Records in 2019 and released their debut EP, Everything You Ever Wanted, in 2020 in the thralls of the COVID-19 pandemic. If you haven't yet, I urge you to give the EP a listen. It's truly out of this world. And as Lukas says, the music transports you, which is a very accurate way of describing it. To get a sense of this statement, check out their live performance at the River and Sky Festival on YouTube. It's amazing. I caught up with Lukas and Charise via Zoom to chat about the forming of the band, what drives them, and how they've navigated putting out their debut EP during a pandemic. Here's my chat with Lukas and Charise of Mother Tongues. For our listeners, could you please just introduce yourselves and give me the name of the band?
Hey, I'm Lukas.
And I'm Char.
And we are part of Mother Tongues.
Cool. So because this podcast was kind of birthed during the pandemic, my first question for every guest is, how has the pandemic been going for you?
I think like with anyone else, it's been challenging. It's been strange because we finally released our record and, with great timing during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So that definitely changed kind of the planned release of that music. We had a bunch of touring planned, and even just like the rollout of like videos and like working around that was really difficult. Mm-hmm. But it's strange because it's like almost been a year now. And so you're kind of able to look back at everything that happened with like some hindsight. And it's like a lot of like kind of what the decisions we made were informed by like the pandemic. Like, for example, even like the album cover, like I wasn't working at the time, so I had all this free time to like really explore and try different things with the album cover art. Mm-hmm. Same thing with like the videos. Like the first video we put out was like done by this really great artist, Trudy Elmore. And like she works in computer graphics. And we had to go that route because we couldn't film anything. Like we had a video shoot that completely got canceled.
Right.
So yeah, it's been challenging, but also, I don't know. I think, it is what it is, and it informed what the final kind of piece or like what the record ended up being,
Right.
So it's part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Do you remember what you were doing when lockdowns when the first lockdown was put into place?
Yes, I remember it was mid-March, I think. I play in another band, Luna Lee, and we were planning on heading south to Texas
For South by?
South by. Yeah, and we had a whole tour planned around that particular showcase. And of course, it was one of the first festivals to publicly announce that they weren't going to go through with it. Yeah, that's an easy one to remember because it was something that I was really looking forward to. Never been to South by, and it was just really badly interrupted.
Yeah. Oh, that's awful. I mean, like, at least you weren't on the road already. I've talked to some artists who were like, from Toronto, and they were all the way out in BC, ready to play a show the next day, and then they're like, oh, guess we just got to turn around and drive home now. So.
Right. Yeah, that's brutal. So I guess timing was in our favor in that sense.
Yeah, but still definitely sucks for sure. What about you, Lucas? Do you remember what you were doing?
Yeah, I was working at this guitar shop that I worked at in Toronto, Paul's Boutique, and I was hearing from everyone that all their festival gigs are getting canceled, and it was really surreal, oh, and yeah, you kind of now everyone's a little bit more used to the state we're living in, but at the time there's so much uncertainty, and it's whoa, is this apocalypse? Yeah. And actually on that note, South by got canceled, but at the time I think New Colossus Festival was happening in New York, and a bunch of our friends were out there, and that was super scary for them because cases were higher there, but also people were it was kind of the procedure wasn't really set in stone yet about quarantine and stuff, so people were coming back, and yeah, it's very confusing.
Yeah, definitely. What have you been doing either as individuals or as a band to keep busy / sane during all of this craziness?
When we first went into lockdown, we all started doing yoga. We started doing yoga together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a way to really maintain sanity. Yeah, it was the members of Luna Lee and then Lucas and a few other friends, like my partner. We all, just wanted to continue seeing each other.
I started playing drums.
Oh, yeah.
And so
cool.
Yeah, that's been really helpful. Yeah. I don't know. It's I think everyone's kind of settled into their routines now.
For sure.
But it's definitely a test of endurance more than anything.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. We were just talking about how even if you have a really productive day, it's kind of at the end of the day you're still in the same room and you're just
yeah.
Oh, okay, I guess I'll do this again tomorrow. But we're writing new music. Right before this, we were listening to some kind of new demo ideas.
Cool.
And we have plans to kind of level up and go do some writing at a cottage or something.
Okay.
So, but again, it's we just went into another lockdown, so that's the roll with the punches.
For sure. What would you say is this will be the last pandemic question, I promise. What would you say is your biggest takeaway from this whole pandemic? Biggest lesson learned or?
Well, I think one thing is it gave us a lot of perspective on, how lucky we are to perform and make music because, for a second there, it's all the stuff that you work so hard on, it's taken away from you. Mm-hmm. But in the past 4 years, it's been so nonstop. You're always working, next rehearsal, next show, next festival, next whatever.
Yeah.
And it's you don't stop to really take it in, what you're doing. And the second it was halted, you really realize how much of your kind of personality or your self is made up of this thing you do. And then we were lucky we got asked to play a couple kind of film performances, and it was those were it was to maybe a fraction of the number of people we're used to playing to, but just getting to do that in the summer once or twice.
Absolutely.
So euphoric and such a relief, and you appreciate it more.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
I agree entirely.
No, that was a great answer. How long had you had the band kind of been apart? When do you remember the first time you were all together again and you were like, oh my God, like we could jam right now? Or
Well, you know what? We were really fortunate compared to some of our friends, I think, because like we were rehearsing and then lockdown happened, and maybe there was like 3 or 4, like a month where we didn't see each other. But then we got asked to do like this series, like Death TO, run by Dan Burke, and it's like a cover kind of set, like where bands in Toronto cover their favorite bands, and we did our favorite band broadcasts. So we started rehearsing for that, and we just decided to like bubble up as like a band. And shortly after that, we got asked to do like this performance for River and Sky. So we started rehearsing for that, and then we had like a pop Montreal thing. So it was actually up until October, we were still like kind of playing the show every month, which is like, which kept us sane, you know. It's kind of like, you know, nice to have some kind of normalcy like rolling through like those first couple months. But then when things slowed down, like I know personally I really hit a wall. It's like, oh my God, like what do I do? Because I was still used to being here. But yeah, so we were lucky. We saw lots of each other.
Cool. That's great. That's great. Well, let's look at 2019. So pre-pandemic, I know 2019 was a pretty exciting year. You signed with Buzz Records. That was in 2019, right?
Yeah. Well, actually, no. Maybe like end of 2018 or something.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, 2019 is when things definitely started happening for us.
Cool.
Yeah. The association was stronger in 2019, but I think.
What was it like finally getting some interest from labels and like going through that whole process of like chatting with the labels, and you know, did you kind of get to like have a couple that were contenders and you decided to go with Buzz?
Well, you know, it's a really unique situation where we had like no music online because I don't know, I guess I've been like too precious with the songs. And so actually the label saw us play Pure Ecstasy and the other one like Walk Lonely Parade, I think. Yeah. So we put this Buzz showcase, and that's actually why we got asked to like hop on their label, which apparently is like pretty unconventional to like not have music out. Right, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it did a lot for us because for one, it motivated us to get our music recorded. And like financially, just having the support of the label helps. And it just, I kind of was like affirming in the sense that like, you know, before we were super motivated and it was like, really fun to be in a band, but to have like this acknowledgement that like, oh, hey, like other people could believe in this. And, you know, there's like more you could do with it, really kind of changed our perspective. And I feel like the band got more serious at that point. Like, people got more committed. And then, as a result, like we started getting offered a lot, some better shows and festivals. Yeah, it's a positive thing. Yeah, for sure, definitely. I'd like to chat about the. Are we calling it an EP or an album? I guess like it's an EP because there's only 6 songs.
Whatever the time requirement is to make it an LP.
But it's as long as some albums.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Like I consider it an album, but
okay, cool. Let's call it that then.
It's an EP, yeah.
All right, let's call it like the long EP. So that came out end of July of 2020. Yeah. It's been making a lot of waves in the industry. You made it to a bunch of best of 2020 lists, including Strombo and Exclaims. I am very curious about the fact that you've been a band for 5 years, and like you said, you had nothing released that people could listen to, and then suddenly we have this beautiful, beautiful work of art. Why did it take 5 years? Well, those songs, you know, they've been around for a long time. Yeah. Part of the reason was like just the nature of like being in a band in Toronto, like you go through so many different members. So I feel like a couple of times, like, you know, like we got pretty close to like where I felt comfortable, where we could have gone into the studio and then, you know, we'd have like a bass player who would like move to England or like a drummer who also moved to England. So it's kind of like you have to like reintroduce like people to the songs. And I'm like the lineup we have now like feels like a family.
it's like it's great.
Yeah. And with the reintroduction of new members to the group, that can obviously take you through a different process, or like I feel like the evolution of the song changes
Definitely
because of the different people that are involved.
Well, for example, like on the record, like Char's the singer. Like Char sings like lead vocal through all the songs. But up until actually even the recording of the record, I was singing all the songs.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
It was a very last minute decision.
We got Char to sing 1 and 2, and it was just like, whoa, like this is, the sound, It was like I would listen to this band. Like you kind of need the opportunity to like step back and like hear the songs as like compositions, and not just like get really self-conscious and
right, yeah.
But it's like the best thing that's happened.
Cool. What was that like original song that you sang on, Char?
Was it Let You Down?
Yeah,
Let You Down. Yeah, the first single was the one where we were like, let's give it a shot. Here's Char's vocals on it. Worked out really great. Let's just try Eternity. What would that sound like?
Yeah.
Worked out. Oh, you might as well just do all of them.
Do the whole thing.
And then we can decide. But I mean, I'm happy with it. I don't mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That's so wild. I've never had the opportunity to see you play live. Just from listening to the EP, I just assumed that you were the singer. So it's cool that's like a new thing.
Yeah. Well, she is now. Yeah.
With the pandemic happening and everything, one more pandemic question, I guess. But was the album pushed at all?
A little bit. I mean,
not by much, I don't think.
No, but also, I mean, I think it was supposed to come out a bit earlier, but kind of all this stuff started happening in the States, and like out of respect for that, and like just kind of considering people's like bandwidth for like what they could take in, we kind of put it off a bit later. I don't know. I think it was the right move to release it during the pandemic. There was talk about just like holding off, but that, I mean, it's still not over. So at this point, we wouldn't have put out our record yet.
Right.
And no, I think it was like, you kind of just have to keep pushing on, and like we're still making new music. So it's like, in an ideal world, we would be touring right now, touring that record, but maybe there'll be like a whole other set of songs out before we get to do that. But so the short answer is it got pushed a little.
Yeah, for sure. Was it like pretty nerve-wracking putting something out during putting your first anything out during a pandemic? Like, I'm sure there was a lot of like humming and hawing about, do we hold off? Like, do we introduce ourselves to the world when no one can get to like actually see us play?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember how I felt back then.
Like reflecting on it more deeply right now in this moment, I remember actually feeling not 100% certain about its release, just because with everything that was going on, like BLM related, I just felt weird taking up that space. Yeah. And giving, making space for those issues. But then I guess you kind of have to look at it like what was good for what we needed to do as a band, and just pushing it just would have been perpetuating old cycles. And it was just something that we needed to do. And thankfully, hearing other people's reception to the album, they needed to hear it too. And putting out that kind of output and that kind of energy and that art into the world was a positive thing in the end.
Yeah, I think at that moment too, like now I kind of remember, I was just like, it was like you're at the end of the finish line, like you've got the masters and you've got the artwork, and like it's been such like a lengthy process, like getting the songs done, that if I had to like hold off another year, I think it would have like driven me insane. So it was like, it has to get out. Like we have to put it out. And like, thankfully, all things considered, like people are listening to it and people have been receptive. So super grateful for that. Cause honestly, we could have just like thrown it out, and it could have just like, whoosh, like, no one could have just gone nowhere. So.
Right.
So we're talking to you, which is nice.
What is the writing process like for the band in general? Lukas, are you like the composer and then everyone kind of fills in their parts, or is it streamlined? How does it work?
Yeah, so
exactly.
With this set of songs, because the songs are so old, like they were like pretty fleshed out, like once they got brought to the band. But definitely like once it's in the room, like the songs have evolved every time. Like every time we bring in a new person, it changes a bit. And like just the nature of the songs, like so much of it is like the performance. So like we've been through a few drummers. Like our drummer now, Nick, is like such a good fit because he's like, his whole self is like this genre of music. Like he grew up playing this kind of stuff.
Okay.
And so like I remember the first rehearsal we played with him, it was like, yeah, that's our guy. And definitely like Hannah's on the record playing keys. So like sometimes I'll just have like a pad part, like a kind of like the chords, and then hear people embellish it. Same with like Char's bass playing. Yeah, also like Konrad, who's the other guitar player in the band. Like we used to do a lot of co-writing together. Mm-hmm. So he's definitely, a lot of him is in there. We had a lot of help too, just in terms of like we recorded with Brett Soderquist at Marquee Sound, and he had a lot of great ideas about like arrangement and production. My buddy Andrew Scott, he's like an older cat. He's played with like a bunch of really great Toronto bands, like the Bicycles. Like he came in and helped us with production a lot too.
Cool.
It's like, I kind of feel like the director of the movie or something, right, like a writer, and then it's like you get this cast of people come in, and it's like kind of completes the whole thing. So,
absolutely, yeah. Like it couldn't happen without all those hands on deck, right?
Yeah, it would be very different if it was just like a bedroom production or something. So,
right. Yeah. Something interesting that I read was, I believe it was for She's Gone. You mentioned in an interview that you kind of wrote the melody in your head while riding your bike.
Yeah, so that's like a really old song, and it's like kind of like funny that was the first thing we ever put out, because it's doesn't really sound like the band at all. Also, we don't perform that song. But yeah, I was like playing with this other group, Kahuna, which has like some of our members in it, Konrad and Kadesh. I was biking back from rehearsal, and like I was singing that melody in my head, and kind of like whispered it into like a cell phone.
Yeah.
And well, that song actually is like pretty much completely a bedroom production. So that's just like I like recorded that at home, and then got my friend Ken to play drums on it. But yeah, that's that story.
Yeah. So do you hear a lot of like your music in your head when like all of those layers and stuff, or do you just kind of have like something simple that you start with? I'm trying to like get an idea of what's going on in that head of yours.
It's different every time, but I would say all the best vocal melodies have come like when I'm not with an instrument.
Interesting.
Like on a walk or something, or in the shower, like because it's like then you're not kind of like just, because then otherwise you're kind of just noodling and you're like, oh, that's cool, but like I don't know, it feels like you're a bit more special when you're like picking them out of the air. Like I was thinking actually just earlier today about in that song Eternity, in the chorus, like Char, it was like years ago, and Char was like house sitting for a friend, like for Salo, and like I went over to visit like at the beaches. We went on this nice walk to the beach, and the like chorus melody of that happened, and I was like, we were walking, I was telling you, I was like, oh, like maybe we could do this for like the chorus of that song. And I don't even know if you played with us back then, but
I don't think so.
Yeah, but yeah, so that's part of it. A lot of it is just experimentation. Like after that, just building the tracks up,
right,
with a little demo. Yeah.
So you mentioned that you got to work with Braden Soder, Marquee Sound, on this EP. What was it like working with Braden? Like, what did he bring to the table that maybe you hadn't considered at all? Was he like pretty hands-on or hands-off, let you do your thing?
He had a lot of great ideas. Like he would kind of like listen to the songs and then suggest like kind of changes in like instrumentation. Like he kind of pushed us to do like a bunch of acoustic guitar stuff, which like we never do. Mm-hmm. And he's got this great studio with like all these like kind of old organs and stuff. Like we use this one instrument, I think it's called the Lowry, and it's like that instrument on that Who track where it's like the arpeggio. No. I know it's not called Teenage Wasteland, that song, but that's the hook. Anyways, he had one of those. bunch of cool synths and like Wurlitzer and stuff like this that like we didn't have access to. So that's all
right.
Bunch of cool tape machines. So there's like a bunch of stuff we played with.
Cool.
Yeah, he's great. And yeah, like another thing, I guess like he's a drummer too, really great drummer.
Okay.
And, like live, like we're like bombastic and we kind of very maximal sounding band. So he was great for like certain parts, like saying like, "Hey, dial that back,"
right,
like vocal kind of shine more. Yeah, so he was really great. And then we got our buddy Asher to like mix the record, and that kind of took it to another level too.
Right.
He plays in this like group, Mr. Joy, which is like awesome, like soundscapey, like psychedelic rock stuff. So he really informed the sound of the record too, just in terms of like running everything through phasers and like we're getting really crunchy drum sounds. You know,
cool.
Like that Flaming Lips vibe kind of stuff. So
right. How did you get connected with these guys?
Well, Sharp plays with Braden.
Yeah, Braden is the drummer in Luna Lee.
Okay.
But I've also just known Braden from like high school days. He was like the new beau of my friend, and didn't find out till like later in life that didn't know that we would be working together eventually.
Right.
But yeah, I've known Braden a long time.
Okay.
And all that.
And his studio is awesome. It's like in a old movie theater.
Oh yeah.
Cool. Where's the studio?
Cool.
East End, like northeast. Donlands.
Okay.
York is the neighborhood, I should say, in Toronto.
Yeah. It's really cool. It's really nice to be in there.
Yeah.
And Asher we know from just like playing shows together with his band, Mr. Joy.
Cool. This might be a bit difficult to answer. It usually is for people when I ask this, but what is your favorite track off the EP?
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, my favorite song to play live is still Eternity, I think.
Oh.
Because, I mean, it's so long and there's so many, like, it goes through so many kind of, like, emotions and like, moods. And then at the end, there's this, like, part where, like, we slow down and it's, like, Nick kind of directs it, but it's different every time, like, the way we snap back into, like, the last beat.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like you can't really be on autopilot for that song. You have to really pay attention. So yeah, it's always like if we get through that song, I always feel good about the rest of the set. So that would be my pick.
Okay.
You have a pick?
I would say Fortunes. I feel like when we play it live, it's like that's the one that people really remember.
Okay.
But on the record, I mean, not that views counts all that much, but it's like the underrated track, I feel. I feel like it's all underrated based on the view count or the listen count, I should say. Play count, that's what we call it. The play count.
I guess we didn't make a video for it.
Yeah, I suppose. But it just has such a spot, I think, in my heart because it was also the first bass tune that I learned before I was the bassist.
Okay.
We were roommates and you just taught me the part, I think, one day. And I was really, I learned bass for this band and to learn that line felt really cool.
Yeah.
And then the final product itself came together really well. And people are still impressed by the live performance of it, which I always feels really good.
Yeah.
The most.
Yeah, that's an older one. Like that song has like a lot of memories attached to it because there's this section in like the chorus, like the breakdown part where like the beat slows down. And I remember I was working like in like a stock room, like an American Apparel, and like all my coworkers did like play trap music all day. And it's not something I really listened to back then, but like there's all this really cool rhythmic stuff that happens in that music where it's like the beat's really lazy. And so I had that riff and we were at rehearsal and I was like, oh, like what if like the beat just slows down for this one part, and like that kind of was like the missing puzzle piece. So yeah, that's the thing. It's like really nice to listen to the record now after like almost a year it's been out, and we haven't been playing the songs as much because I can kind of like, oh, it's like this nice time capsule of like my life up till this point. So,
Cool. Yeah, I think for me, I absolutely love Eternity. I just watched like all of the live videos I could find of you performing it, but I also really, really like the title track, Everything You Wanted. Really enjoyed that too.
Oh, cool. Yeah. That was like yeah, I don't know. I don't know why I didn't feel like we had to push that one, but I like that song too. Yeah. That song, it feels like, I feel um, like when we play it live, it like carries through a lot more.
Okay.
Maybe just like, I don't know. I like the recording too, but
Yeah.
I think live, like, it's a lot looser, which is like maybe what we should have done with that song.
Right.
So, maybe we'll re-record it at some point or release like a live version.
Cool. Yeah, I'd love to see that one live for sure. Something, Lukas, that you said in another interview that really struck with me, especially with your music, is I might be paraphrasing here, but essentially the idea was that you said music should transport you. It should take you to like another world or another place, which is something I like really agree with music in general. But even more so with this Mother Tongues record, like it just takes you to like outer space and like other planets, and it's so transportable. I don't know if that's the word I'm looking for, but something I really, again, like I said, I haven't seen you play live, but watching the River and Sky Festival footage of you performing, it seems like that's really what you do for a live performance too. You just take this audience on this journey with you. Yeah, it's just something that you said that I just like really struck with me, and I really think for just like the type of music that you make, it's like that is so on the ball. How long have you been performing live music, like even outside of Mother Tongues?
I mean, I guess like since I started playing music, like like in school, like just like battle of the bands and stuff like that. You can get your first taste. So not seriously until I was like in my 20s, and I actually had like a bit of a gap where I wasn't making any music at all. Yeah, I would say seriously for the last 8 years, maybe. Yeah, and just on the note of like music being like able to transport you. Yeah, like that's kind of like what excites me the most.
Yeah.
Like, I write a song and it's like you're either in the room with the people who made it, like you can kind of imagine like these people or like the life they were living, or it kind of takes you to a completely different place, like it's like not even part of reality.
Yeah.
Like that's the magic of it, it's just like frequencies like vibrating in the air. It's like changing your brain chemistry. It's like I don't know, I think we take it for granted, but it's something really special.
Definitely.
Glad it did that for you.
Yeah, no, dude, it did for sure. So I'm sure that's something like you said, you strive for, but what can audiences, maybe people that haven't been able to see you perform live yet, what can they expect from a Mother Tongue show?
Well, we definitely like to kind of take over the environment, like set the stage, like, like when we start a show, we get them to turn off all the lights, and it's kind of just like this nice reset,
Yeah.
or this like kind of like moment for the audience to kind of recalibrate, and let them know that like something's going to happen. And
definitely, yeah.
Like a little like pre-show ritual where like like you can see it in the River and Sky video. There's like this bottle of
like a vial of like really spicy oil.
Yeah, like a menthol like rub that we call like the snake oil. And like, we kind of apply it to the back of our necks before every show, and it's like kind of heats up as like we start to play.
Okay.
It's like kind of ritualistic thing we do because like it kind of puts you all in the same headspace. Yeah, so yeah, we like to put on a performance. We've got like our light show. We've got like these lasers. That actually came from like Char and I had this really awesome experience. So I work at this guitar shop, Paul's Boutique. And the first month I started working there, I was closing up the shop, and like this older dude comes in, and I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again. He's like, oh, can I like try out this amp? And I was like closing up, so I kind of wanted to get him out of there. He was really nice, so I set this like stack up for him, and he's like, oh, I can never find these in California. And I was like, oh, cool. Like what are you doing in Toronto?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I'm playing a show. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, where are you playing? And he's like, the Air Canada Center, which is like our big, venue. And then I'm like, cool, like, who are you playing with? And he like points to the wall where we have like this Pink Floyd record up, and he like points to like Roger Waters. So he was like,
no way.
This guy Jonathan Wilson, he's like this great musician, record producer. He plays guitar, and he's dated Gilmore in the Roger Waters show. So yeah, he like shows me all this cool stuff with like this old trainer amplifier, and then at the end he's like, "You should come to the show." I was like, "Okay, like I'll try and get tickets." And he's like, "No, I'll put you on guest list." And
no way.
So like I surprised Char, and like we got backstage passes to like see Pink Floyd, which is like, you know, like a huge influence on me.
For sure, yeah.
It's like Char's dad's favorite band.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like it was crazy. There's like, and our buddy was like, "Oh, wait till you see the pyramid." And like we're watching the show, there's no pyramid there. We're like, "Oh, you know, fuck, like there's no, we don't get
Where
a pyramid."
were they going to put a pyramid was my question. Where in the space were they going to install, like where was this installation?
Right.
At the climax of the show, it's like these 4 lasers pop up, and they fucking create this laser prism.
It was the craziest laser show.
Oh my God.
There it was, in like seemingly 2-dimensional form. I mean, it was, but all these lasers just like shot out of nowhere. There was the pyramid. And it changed, and we're like, we gotta get lasers.
Yeah, we're getting lasers.
I was like, everyone's about projections. We're gonna do lasers.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool.
We're not gonna get that at our show, but on a scaled down version.
It's like a nod to a laser show that could happen.
Right, for sure. But at least like you're thinking about this stuff. So when production gets bigger, you're gonna get a pyramid. Or something like that.
Like, there's some bands can get away with it where like they just show up and like they just like, you know, look great. They're just cool, and like, you know, they get on stage and
they look cool, they play cool, they sound great.
But I don't know. I think like we like to like transform the environment a little bit more.
For sure. And again, that goes with the sense of like transporting the crowd, right? The lasers do that.
Yeah, they do. But they're beautiful.
Okay, cool. So now just want to know a bit of history about the band. How did you and Char meet?
We met, the first time we ever met was actually across the street from where we are right now. There was this garage. What is it called?
Buzz Garage.
Yeah, Buzz Garage,
It was
actually.
that garage.
It
It
was
was beginnings of Buzz.
And that was probably like 10 years ago or something.
Yeah.
They used to throw shows there. So yeah, I was with my cousin, and I remember my cousin had like this little bottle of Jack Daniels on a necklace. And like Char and our friend Salem were there. We met, and we were all drinking this little bottle.
I don't remember a lot of the night, I'm going to be honest. But I'm pretty sure that was the first time we were in the same room together.
Cool.
And then just through mutual friends, we kept bumping into each other at shows and parties. And
then it was like a couple years later that like we reconnected. I think it was at like Maylee show, like Maylee Todd, who's like a great friend of Char's and mine, and, you know, great musician. But yeah, Char was looking for a place to move out to, and I had an opening in my apartment.
This room.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Right now, which is now a studio.
Okay. I've lived here for 3 years.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And bandmates in this space.
Yeah. And Char, have you been part of Mother Tongue since the beginning?
No.
Okay, so give me a timeline. Like how long ago was this first meeting at the Buzz Garage?
Oh man, 2012 or something.
Okay.
Yeah, nearly 10 years. Still I wasn't playing music. I didn't play music till maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
You didn't play in shows, but you played piano.
Like I've been playing music my whole life, but performance-wise, I was mostly in the dance scene, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a backup dancer for the mentioned Maylee Todd, and so I was like in the arts and music community, but not actually doing what I'm doing now.
Okay.
So yeah, over time, from 2012 to when I moved in 2016, you slowly learn that, you know, I play music, I play some instruments, and then we started jamming a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then I came in for a Mother Tongue's rehearsal, just to see what I could do. And
cool. You played keys first.
Oh, I played keys first. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Sure. For us first, and then it was actually we throw this festival called Hollowfest in like Perth every year, and our bass player couldn't play that show. And I think Charlotte learned all the songs in like a week or something, or less than a week, and filled in for him. And then she kind of just stole his spot.
Char, why did it take so long for you to start? Like, if you've just been doing this for the last 4 years, why did it take so long?
A lot of reasons, like a lot of insecurities with my musicianship and playing, and really self-critical about it. I'm a perfectionist type personality, so if it's not ready, if it's not perfect to perform, then why bother?
Gotcha.
But then I got to like loosen up a little bit and learn that that stuff's not important, and it was just fun generally to do, and to be in an environment in a community where no one's judging you for that kind of stuff. Also, I had gained a lot of confidence from the dancing stuff.
Right.
I realized that a lot of people are actually more self-conscious about dancing in public than playing an instrument, and I went, well, I nailed the dancing part. I feel like I can do this stuff.
Right on.
Yeah. I don't know. It took its time, but
yeah,
finally made it.
How long did it take for the band to develop its sound? Like, if we're looking at like let's say the OG Mother Tongue's rehearsals to what you sound like today, was there a big transformation over the years, or was it kind of always there?
It was really different when it started, for sure. Like, there's a whole other set of songs actually that like happened before this kind of set that became the record, and it was like some of it was like really like kind of like Bowie-esque, like glam,
cool,
kind of like more psych pop. There's some good ideas in there for sure, but like it just didn't really make sense with like the newer stuff. So maybe one day that stuff will get released.
Right.
But in terms of like the set of songs now, like that probably happened before you joined the band, like half of the songs, and then they kind of evolved along the way, and some new material kind of made its way in. And yeah, the new stuff is like kind of different that we're working on, you know, same elements.
Even more different, like the newer stuff that's like not unreleased? Yeah,
I think it's going to be a bit more refined. Like with the record, I feel like at certain moments you can be like, you can really see the influences. Like you're like, oh, that's like Stereo Lappy, or like that's like Broadcast, or you know, the Flaming Lips, or like whatever. So I feel like personally I'm trying to push it into like a zone where it's like more of its own thing.
Okay.
And it's probably still going to sound like a bunch of other people, but you know.
Right. Yeah. I find like most things sound like something, right? Like there's so much music out there now.
Yeah, it's how people listen to. It's like you try and find reference points. Like
definitely, yeah.
Completely its own thing. It's kind of like you don't even know how to make sense of it sometimes.
Right. And like, I mean, you know, inspiration comes from so many different things. So it just makes sense that another song or a piece of artwork or a movie or whatever it is, a walk could like inspire a sound, right? So it's, yeah, I get that.
And you're like this filter for it, you know, it's always going to come out different. Even if like you're imitating someone, it's going to filter through your sensibility and your taste. It'll become its own thing. Hopefully.
Right. Where does the name Mother Tongues come from? Why that name?
I'm so bad at answering this question.
You'd be surprised how many bands just don't have a good reason, and they're just like, it sounded good or whatever it is. So,
well, I think it like resonates with me because like, you know, I have like, I speak English, but I also speak Cantonese. Like, you know, I like just like my family history and like the lineage of like my family is something that I've always been like really fascinated in. Like on my father's side, we're from Hong Kong, and it's like a really interesting history. Like my grandmother was like a film producer.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and on my mother's side, I'm actually like 5 generations Canadian. Like,
okay.
Like my great grandfather worked on the like Canadian Pacific Railway. He was a railway worker. And so like I spent a lot of time actually when I was younger with my dad doing like art projects like related to that. So I don't know, the name kind of conjures up like the idea of like family history to me. And
I
just
get
like what, like, oh, like you come from this long line of like people on like what are you doing next? But
Right.
also just on like an aesthetic level, like I really like how the name's kind of wholesome, like maternal, but kind of like freaky too.
Yeah.
It's like kind of like, yeah, it's kind of just like gross. Yeah, I didn't get any thoughts of the name.
No.
That was a great answer. I honestly, when I was doing my research, and I had a feeling it had to do with something with like, yeah, just like either like just be it like a language thing. I'm an immigrant to Canada too. My mother tongue is English, but I speak German as well. So like it definitely like resonated with me. Just like people of different cultures being in a band and everyone having their own mother tongue, mother language, or whatever it is. So cool. That's honestly a much better answer than I've received from some people that just say it sounded cool. Not calling anyone out, but do you remember the first show you performed under mother tongues?
Yeah, I do.
Where?
Well, it would have been, because I had the name for a while before we even started playing shows, and it was for Ken's birthday, actually. And like, it would have been like 2012, 2013, like, but it was a completely different band. It's like
right.
And the songs were totally different, but I've been using that name for a long time.
Cool.
So,
where was the show?
It was my friend Ken, who eventually became our drummer. He's like an excellent drummer, excellent artist. It was like his birthday, and it's like a backyard show. And,
cool.
That's where it started.
So you're known as being you have been very busy for the last 5 years performing all over Toronto, getting to tour. What is your favorite venue to play in Toronto?
Can I actually, you know what? I don't know if it's so much the like venue, like the space, but like it's always more so like the people that we get to play with. Like we love it whenever we get to work with this guy, Brian Renton.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Yeah. It's just like the sound person, like no one ever talks about the sound person, but
for sure.
Yeah, it's like a huge deal. It's like, like whenever we see this guy, it's just like, the show's going to sound great. It's going to be like smooth and such a relief. Mm-hmm. And he's like a good friend of ours now at this point. And we like do this festival, Hollow Fest together. He does like the whole festival. And just working with certain promoters too. Like we're really lucky. We've got like a super cool crew in Toronto. Like we got Dan Burke, who's like, always been supportive of us for like the last decade, and Denim and Juliana from like Transmit.
It's almost like it falls on sort of like the reputation of the people involved, because they draw a particular crowd as well. Oh, is it being put on by these people? Then it's bound to be good. Oh, Brian's doing a reputable sound person and a well sought after sound person in the scene. Oh, he's doing sound tonight. He's going to kill it. It's going to sound good. Regardless of what the band sounds like, he's going to make it sound good.
Right.
Yeah. So there are a few spots where it does sound. So if we have to name some spots, it'd be like Baby G, the Monarch Tavern,
Garrison,
the Horseshoe. Just your classics, but again,
classic Toronto spots. Yeah.
Cool.
It's like a whole community. Yeah.
Do you remember like your best show ever that you performed at, where you were like, either it was like could have been the biggest crowd, or just like best vibe, or one that you were super stoked on?
Yeah, I guess the Hollowfest stage is pretty special, just because that's like our community. It's like all your best friends, and
cool.
Just like a different kind of headspace, because everyone's there like for music,
right,
from the city. And you're just like immersed in this like different universe for like a weekend.
Yeah. You're literally like performing on the stage that was built by your friends.
That's so cool.
On a campground that was taken care of by people who care about the space.
Right, yeah. Right. Where does that festival take place? Does it move every year, or?
It's in the same place in Perth, Ontario.
Ontario. Okay.
Had some like really great bands come play
near Kingston, like on the way to Montreal, kind of. But you go there.
Cool.
I would also add though that like one of my favorite shows was like pretty recently was that like when we took over this high school, or like, I don't know, it's high school, but this school on board for like our Pop Montreal like live stream.
Okay.
And it was like, yeah, just like what we were talking about earlier, like it was like there's so much uncertainty about like when we would get to play again. So it's like really savoring it, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
It was just like a really cool experience because like right before we played, we hadn't really promoted it because it was, you know, during the pandemic, so we didn't want people to come out. But right before we went on, I like made like a little post, and I was like, hey, we're going to play at this school. It's outside. If like people want to social distance and watch, like it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And quite a few people turned up, actually.
Cool.
And some people just actually stumbled onto the show just from hearing it because it was outside.
Right.
And, yeah, it just felt really good.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
So with you, with the band being a Toronto band, I'd like to know like what your favorite part of Toronto is, like area.
I would say, well, the market is a huge neighborhood that is close to both of us because it's where we live together. Where I work at a coffee shop bar in Augusta, where Lukas works at Paul's Boutique, and our jam space is in the basement of Paul's Boutique. And it's just such a hub, you know, like I feel like when I lived here, everyone rather came to the market. You want to hang out, you go to the market. I already live here. No hassle for me. It's such a vibrant and cultureful and colorful neighborhood. So that's a spot for sure. And it used to house like a lot of really cool venues.
Yeah, for sure. Used to. That's so sad.
Yeah.
What's the vibe like in Kensington right now? Like I haven't been up there since the pandemic started, and I know it's like just such like an outdoor, you know, heavy foot traffic area. Is it kind of like a ghost town right now?
It's kind of still busy, which is like a little concerning.
Yeah.
But it's different. It's definitely evolved in the last even 5 years. Like it's a lot more kind of like touristy. Yeah. And like I think it used to be like very community based, but like with a couple like certain bars opening, it's like drawing in a different crowd.
And condos that are being built too, like on College and like anywhere nearby. It's just drawing a different crowd.
We're trying to keep it real. There's still some like real spots like Pam and I, like Paul's Boutique, Ronnie's.
For sure. Yeah. Some spots won't go.
My other favorite spot would actually be pretty close by the U of T campus. Because it's so different from the rest of the city. Yeah. And it's actually been keeping me sane through this whole pandemic because I'll go through for a walk, see like the campus.
Okay.
Yeah, it feels like you're, I don't know, at Hogwarts or something.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely got like a very different vibe to the rest of the city.
Yeah. And when I was mixing the record, I'd go for a lot of walks at night when it's like totally deserted. And it's just like you're walking through these old castles, you know, like you're listening to this music. So, yeah, I don't know. It's part of my Toronto landscape for sure.
Cool. What about a favorite bar in Toronto?
Besides the bar that I work at, I'm not sure. I haven't thought about bar life in a while.
Yeah.
Pam for sure. It's like a community hub. I've met lots of like great people there. The owner is like a real, wholesome, good person.
Really generous. Yeah. Great cook. Just really overall great human being.
Yeah. Cool. All right. We're coming to like the last few questions here. Could be a little bit of a speed round, I suppose. What was the last show you saw before the pandemic? Last artist or band you saw play live?
It was probably shows we played. So it was either like the Matson 2. Yeah, because you still watch the show.
I guess so.
Yeah, like the Matson 2, which is like these awesome like twin brothers. They have this great record with Toro Imoe. So we got to open for them. And it was like mind blowing. Like
cool.
Yeah. Also like maybe the Valentine's show. Like we played Valentine's cover show where we did a whole set of like My Bloody Valentine songs.
So we got to see ABBA and George Michael and who else was being covered? Bee Gees, that was
so that was part of that Def Tio series that Dan Burke throws, where it's like Toronto bands covering,
cool.
bands we love.
Yeah.
So, and that was at Lee's Palace. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of funny, like that was like, we got to play to like this like packed, huge venue, and then everything shut down.
Yeah.
So,
like the last hurrah.
Yeah. Hopefully not the last.
Yeah. Last one you got to do anyway. What artist or band has been helping you get through the pandemic the most?
I've been listening to like a lot of French music. Like,
okay.
But that's like not particularly because of the pandemic. I just like have been into that stuff for a while. So like Air, like Charlotte Gainsbourg.
Oh yeah. There was a Bjork phase revisiting Bjork.
I just got into Bjork.
Classic.
Okay.
Yeah. Honestly, nothing new. No new material on my end. Just re-listening to a lot of stuff that maybe I do that to take me back to a time that was not now.
Definitely. Yeah. For sure. That's more like what the question is. Yeah. Like just like creature comfort or whatever you call that. But like just like anything that's like just been taking you back to what life was like before, good times, good memories.
Yeah. So a lot of Bjork. I'm just thinking about like my CD stack on top of my fridge, and that's definitely up there. And then I think there's a Beyonce CD in there somewhere.
I'm listening to our friends a lot. Just because, like I miss them. And it's weird actually, like I've made some new friends like through the pandemic that I've never met just through putting out this record, with other musicians like reaching out. So like one artist, Zune, like this indigenous like shoegaze artist who's fucking awesome.
Cool. Sorry, great. What's her name?
Zune, his name,
Zune. ZOO.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Loren, like this country artist.
Okay.
We did like a trade. We sent her a hoodie and she sent me her record. So,
okay.
My friends like in Cali Horse have been listening to their stuff. Mm-hmm. And, Hot Garbage. Cool. Yeah.
How do you go about finding new music?
I think the best stuff that I come across is still just like friends, like suggesting it, So, like, because they kind of know your taste and they know you like something. Like I got Char to make me a Bjork playlist because I know she knows like that whole kind of scene, about her whole like discography really well. So she made me like the best of. And I've been doing that with people recently, just like trading playlists.
Trading playlists, cool.
I hear about a lot of music from at my work at Paul's Boutique, like from just my coworkers. Because they're like a bit older and they know everything. Yeah, they all work at record stores and stuff. So
right. Oh, that's handy for sure. What is the latest and greatest find that like something new to you? So I guess it could be Bjork for you.
I'm late on this, but like Portishead, I never listened to Portishead.
Oh, okay.
I was like, there's just so many parallels of like what I love about music and that genre. Particularly this record Third. So like our current keyboard player, Kabash, we went for a hike recently on the drive back. He put on that record and it's like at night, we're driving through the highway.
Yeah.
It's like really like David Lynch vibes, And
for sure.
David Lynch's birthday today, by the way.
Oh, cool. So, happy birthday, David.
Yesterday.
Yeah. So that record was like really mind blowing. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Sweet. Right. And then, Char, is there anyone new that comes to mind?
I'm blanking right now. I'm blanking.
Okay,
like
no worries.
I said, listening to a lot of older stuff for me, I mean.
Right, yeah. For sure. That's fine. Okay, cool. Last question is, who do you think I should have on the podcast next?
Oh, so many. Can I give you a bunch of people?
You can give me a bunch of people. Yeah, I'm going to write it down as you give it to me.
I'm going to feel bad after because like I'm not listing off everyone. But like Possum, Hot Garbage, Kaleidoscope Horse or Cali Horse, sorry. Bart, pretty much the whole Hollow Fest like live. So much good music in Toronto.
Cool.
And, Millie Todd, like I don't know, like it's just like mind blowing how much good stuff there is in Toronto. And
there is, yeah.
It's it's like overwhelming. Like I could just listen to Toronto artists for the rest of my life and I'd be content.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's also like so important for the world to know that we do so much more than The Weeknd and Drake.
Yeah.
Like that was a big thing. I guess like pre-pandemic, I had started this thing called Sideways with some buddies of mine, and that was it was basically like a live performance, like NPR Tiny Desk kind of thing, but just based in Toronto. And that was our biggest mandate, was just like wanting to show the world that we're more than just Drake and The Weeknd. Like we have so much good music to offer.
I mean, even historically, you know, there's so much stuff to come out of Toronto, right?
Absolutely.
Like, I don't know, Rush, and the band, and
so much.
Topics, great music city. Despite, I mean, we get a little bit of support from the government for sure, but you know, it's like I feel like it's really community based, and that's like what keeps it alive, and like, you know, folks like you doing stuff like this out of their own time. It's like people really care about it. So
for sure.
Yeah, it's we're lucky to be in this city for sure.
Cool. And then last question, what is next for Mother Tongues? What can we expect in 2021? I know it's probably kind of hard to say because we're in a pandemic, but
we were, you know, we were making wishes and like projecting the best case scenario. Definitely like releasing new music that we're currently working on, and playing festivals, touring.
Yeah, just I feel like everyone feels the same way about it. Nothing unique really, but I guess what's unique to us is maybe writing and not taking as long a time to release it. I think that was a major criticism about the record, that it just took too long. So hopefully just speed up the pace of it. I mean, I have more time, so there's really no excuse. That's my personal goal. I guess we should have discussed.
More. No, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. More.
Just push it a little harder, especially if I have the time.
Cool. Great. Guys, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today.
Thank you. Thank you.
This is fun.
Nice. Thank you.
Yeah. Good length. I'm like so excited about the new EP. You should be so proud of it. It's absolutely beautiful. I really hope that things calm down and I get to see you play live soon. This year.
Yeah.
Well, for sure. You know, we'll figure out something. Like even if it's like another outdoor show.
Yeah. Invite you. Love you.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome, guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Have a great day.
Yeah. Take care.
Cheers.